you're ready, Joe.
Okay, sounds good.
Alright, you just need a motion to vote, you two to allow Joe to come in remotely.
I'll make the motion to allow Joe to remote until he can get here.
I'll second that.
And both are in favor?
Thank you.
You're in, Joe.
Yep.
Sounds good, thank you.
You're welcome.
You want me to
Jenna,
start
you want
anything,
this,
or do roll call?
Okay. Cochran,
Joe.
Cochran, Smith,
Here.
Burgess.
Here. Okay, Joe, Derek, you want me to do this, or are you gonna do it? Or?
No, you sure can.
Let's approve the minutes.
Approve the minutes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes, the water and wastewater minutes from February 22nd of 2022.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there was no old business. Under new business, Superintendent Jack Duncan went over 2 quotes for the well 10 and well 11 rehab. Lane was $28,542, Peerless was $26,300. Jack discussed the cleaning process and keeping the nitrate levels within range. Jack explained there was approximately 4 days of water without well pumping. It has been since 2007 since the wells were done. Jeff Albee from GSI explained to the committee they are working on a beautification at GSI and building a new entrance. The committee discussed the drainage being tied into the storm sewer on Illinois Street and the retention pond. There has been water coming into the building at GSI. The drainage district discussed the storm water at length. The retention pond was also discussed and where and how much water is going into it. It was also questioned who owns the retention pond. The committee decided Paige could call Jeff Albee to discuss further. Mark Bingham, the president, a flow meter report. The report was discussed. It was noted there is an issue with water coming possibly from Sloan's, and this should be addressed. Mark will work with city attorney on how to move forward. A meeting will need to be scheduled with Sloan's. The committee discussed needing an ordinance for a retention pond. Mark discussed a timeline with the EPA for the nitrates. The soil sample for the land at the new water plant will have come back with no action needed. Mark has the permit application for Paige to sign. Department of Ag has approved the land for the water plant. The city continues to wait for approval for the water plant. Sanitary sewer phase 1 will need the final punch list completed. The quantity adjustments still need to be completed. Phase 2 should have the permits next week. The Leafland pump station land acquisition still needs completed by the attorney. The La Rochelle project will start approximately the middle of March. Water collector Tanya Rhodes informed the committee there was a sewer increase on the bills. Water superintendent would like to discuss a water increase of 3 to 5% to be done yearly. Alderman Person Stewart submitted her resignation effective March 3rd. The committee asked if the online bill payment is going well. It was noted a lot more are using it and there has been no issues. Jack Duncan went over the fees for shutoff and reconnection.
Alright, I guess the first thing on the agenda would be to talk about the well quotes we got. We asked Peerless Midwest and Lane Western to submit quotes by a certain date, the date of the water
I can't
meeting.
hear, Susie, can you put it more towards the middle of the table?
Turn it around that way.
See if that's better, Joe.
So, we received quotes.
Not really.
We received quotes from Lane and Peerless Midwest. We asked them to submit those quotes by a certain date, and they did. And we read the prices allowed at the water meeting, and then the next day we received another quote from Cahoy, which is another well company. They were about $600 less than Peerless, who was the lowest of the 2 first quotes. We tabled it for this water meeting because I just don't think it's good practice to ask for a timeline for submittal allowing someone to bid after that timeline, after they've heard the existing quotes. My recommendation to the board would be that we accept the lowest bid of the first two quotes, and then invite Cahoy, make sure we invite them to, put bids in for the next time we have any well services done.
I agree with you, Jack.
You know, we do have a bit of a, I mean, part of our job is to find the best deal and the best price for the citizens of Assumption, but I think, operating that way could, you know, eventually get companies like Peerless and Lane to not submit bids anymore, which would only cost more for us in the long run, so. That would be my recommendation, to accept the lowest of the first two bids, which would be Peerless for $26,300.
Yeah, I agree with that too, Jack.
And then, GSI, they've begun work on tying those, storm drains in, or those roof drains into the storm sewer over there. I think it was, you know, made clear to the board when the drainage district came last time that it really isn't gonna influence any of their, you know, any of the drainage. It's full as it is, you know, they're doing their best for the people that work there, and for, you know, there is a bit of a safety issue as far as icing and stuff, so we did decide to go ahead and let them tie in. I think everybody was in agreement with that, but it's a surface drainage in that 40-acre area is gonna be an ongoing conversation that Mark and I, we met with Butch Harper at Sloan's. He took us around, and they are just as committed to solving this problem as the city is. There's gonna be some funding issues of who pays for it or what, but they wanna get to the bottom of separating their storm sewer from their sanitary, which we spent a good part of the morning the other day tracing stuff, dying stuff, finding where this manhole dumps to this. It's gonna be a long process, but I think we're at a point where we have to decide if we want to continue to use city labor to figure out what the issue is. We wanna continue to involve an engineering firm. You know, my thought is kind of, there is maybe a couple more things we can look at, but this is an issue that I think is going to have to be, if the board would like the city to take care of it, I think we probably could. It's gonna cost us money to have the engineering firm in and man hours, but we could do that. But Sloan's and another extent GSI need to have some, you know, they need to do some of the legwork themselves. I don't really know how to approach that, but I'll kind of leave that.
Could it be something like an 80-20?
It could be,
you know?
but the real issue, I mean, that's even further down the road. The real issue is the man hours and the labor to try to figure out what the best solution is. And that's dying and tracing, that's, you know, getting profiles of the land, where all the water flows. You know, there's weeks of work that can be done to engineer what's best,
Yeah.
most cost effective, so.
Yeah, so Jack and I, we walked the facility, and there's, you know, it absolutely pointed out where the bathrooms are, and those are pretty straightforward, other than we don't know where they're plumbed to, but then there's mop sinks, there's, you know, floor drains, that,
Kitchen
you know,
sinks,
kitchen
yeah.
sinks, and they're tied in everywhere. You know, initially we were, you know, thinking maybe we can, you know, figure out where all the sanitary goes, and, but true plumbing code and sanitary is, would be, I don't know that it should be, our responsibility to do it's their facility, I guess. One thing I will point, you know, we walked it, and there are, obviously roof drains that are tied in, and that's, you know, technically, you know, per the city ordinance, you're not supposed to have those. And so those are easy ones to point out and point a finger, but I don't, you know, I'm not gonna be the one that does that. That's not, you know, it's the board's decision how we move forward. If we work with them, kind of push them along a little bit further. We absolutely need to, you know, get that stormwater taken off of the new sanitary line, because it, I don't say it defeats purpose, but it's, you know, there's, you know, quite a bit of stormwater coming from, you know, that facility. Where these roof drains are is an entire building, you know, it's a huge area. So I think that's what Jack alluded to, you know, should me and Jack work on it, and then, you know, who ends up paying for that, and then, you know, these remedies that we may or may not come up with, you know, who's gonna pay for those, so
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at. Yes, I think we had to go and figure out briefly what the problem is, and now we know what the problem and maybe the challenges are, and we can relay that to, to you guys, but we need some direction where to go from there, so. What that means, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess, you understand the constraints, what we're working with,
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Well, it's good that they're on board, at least with getting the situation taken care of.
They're on board with remedying it.
Yeah.
We don't wanna pay for it, they don't wanna pay for it.
yeah, so that's really where, that's the argument. And so there is an ordinance, as, like I asked Greg, and, there's an ordinance where they could have a violation, $150 a day. I'm not saying I'm just, those are the, where we're at. Do we spend our time, the city's time, going to, remedy I guess visualize it at your house. Would you expect me to come to your house and tell you how to, do the plumbing, drainage from your property?
I had somebody come to my house and tell me I had to unhook my downspouts from,
Absolutely, there you go. So if somebody came and told you you had to do it.
well, I got
did
letters sent to me
Yeah,
too.
we sent letters out.
I got a letter sent to me
I'm
and
agreeing with
then
you then, absolutely.
I
We
had
didn't-
somebody
we didn't-
stop at my house because it was last minute,
Yeah.
the day before the
we
cutoff, I
didn't-
got it
They
done.
told you you had to remove it, but they didn't tell you how you had to do it, and that's really what this is.
They just said it couldn't be linked
Yeah.
into with the storm sewer anymore.
Yep.
Or
So
put into the sewer.
I'm agreeing, yes,
Yeah.
we absolutely, the city said that she had to remove, or, everywhere in the town, and so then there's roof drains that are still connected. What do we do about it? I guess that's the big question, and those absolutely need to be taken off. I guess that's what we're relaying the message to you guys to give us direction.
Yeah.
How do we enforce them? How do we work with them? I can't answer those questions. A lot of blank stares.
Well, I mean, it's a delicate situation. I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
with the second largest employer in Christian County.
Yeah.
So,
I get
what
it.
about a timeline? If we gave them a timeline. I mean, I don't want to go in there and start finding a way.
Oh, I'm not
Of
saying we
course.
can go and, yes.
No, but I'm just saying, we
yeah.
work with you. We can give you a timeline. I mean, the place, how I visioned it, was probably put together in pieces
Oh,
over the
yeah, absolutely.
past decade, and that's
Yeah.
probably what
And
happened.
they have no maps, they have no
Yeah.
records, they
Yeah.
have.
And GSI was the same way. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
pieced together, and
And-
they've done a decent job of taking it off over the years. I don't know that there was any enforcement. I remember walking GSI. We never were able to. I don't know. We're not able to. But Sloan's, we never walked that facility.
Mhm.
I
I've only been in the front door, in
Yeah.
the sales area.
Jack and I've been through all the entire facility now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the timeframe. What that's what you guys.
There is no good solution that everybody's gonna be totally happy with. I don't think, even if we say, okay, 6 months, you have to have this removed,
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna be happy with that.
Yeah.
That's the I would say that would be the long end of the extent of how long we want this to take, because, we need to see how efficient this phase 1 sewer project has been.
So
And
they're
that-
removing what, gutters?
I mean, there's a litany of surface drainage, which would be roof drains, drains out in the lot that are tied into the service that we tied into the new sewer system. So in theory, everything that runs to that new pump station at the end of Oak Street over there, should be only sanitary sewer. But every time it rains, that sewer system gets flooded, that pump station gets flooded. We found out about 80% of the water that's coming through there when it rains is coming directly out of Sloan's service.
From the flow
With the
study?
flow line.
With the flow state, and we call this Sloan service, there's pretty good indication that GSI is also connected to that line.
Yeah, they have a
They have-
sewer that discharges
Yes.
northeast of.
So this is
Sloan's
not a
property.
single, this is a very nuanced situation, I mean, it's gonna,
So where does the water, if they unhook,
So
'cause
that's
I
the
don't-
other- that's the
where
other
does the
issue.
water go?
so they, that facility should have some sort of a retention pond, and they don't. So the other issue, or the other option we have is, we now have a dedicated storm sewer, that was the old combined sewer that we replaced. I'd say that would be the cheapest option for everyone, is to have their existing service tied back into the old sewer line, and then they have a new service run. Or, you know, there's the other option of eliminating all of their storm that is tied in and running that into the old sewer line. You know, you're either gonna replace their sanitary service or you're gonna replace the storm sewer service.
Jack, when you guys talked to them, did you explain this to them?
Yes,
Yes.
and
And
they,
how-
you know, their opinion, the opinion of, you know, the guy who's, working the buildings and grounds is he just wants he wants to know where everything goes. He's been working there for 30 years and he still doesn't know. He'd love to find out. The opinion of, the front office staff, I guess the manager you call him, is that he does not, you know, their sewer works as it is. You know, they don't have any issues. Why do they need to spend money to fix it? And, you know, he said, like, it was brought up, they're the lifeblood of the town, they employ a lot of people in town, you know. They have put money into the town. My counter argument was that we're putting millions and millions and millions of dollars into the sewer system that's made obsolete by just your surface drainage. So, you know, there's arguments back and forth either way. It's really gonna come down to how the board wants to enforce it.
Yeah, we can give ideas, just like Jack, you know, said, we can either remove the sanitary, off their system, collect all the bathroom, or not we, but we can give a recommendation for what they should do, it's their facility. Or we separate the storm, but it's not really our facility, so we can only give recommendations. I think there's, they can remove their roof gutters. They could separate their sanitary and, plumb their bathrooms in, but I don't know that that's our responsibility, or we should figure out what they want to do. I think, in my opinion, a couple quick solutions would be the roof gutters that are obvious, but then to route that stormwater to, another storm drain is, that's gonna take some funds and, figuring out where it goes. If I guess example is if they were to, they've been here for years, so that, you can envision their grandfather, but let's say if they were to build another facility in another town, there would be discussions about, drainage, sanitary, water, we're talking about retention whenever they're building, taking a green space and then converting it to a rooftop and, concrete area where that is gonna collect a lot more water and has to go somewhere. That would be how it would be done in, if it were a new facility coming into town or another community. But that's not, it's been here for years, so it's actually been lifeblood as you mentioned. I get, we want some direction on what we, where we go from here. If we keep working with, going, hey, tell them we'd like to see this done, or what do we do?
So I don't wanna have any input on this since, I'm employed by one of the people that are, of one of the companies. So I don't know how I don't wanna
can
be
just
involved
abstain.
I wanna abstain from
Yeah, just
everything
any
and not be
decision.
involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
Because of my my job, not anything bad about my job, just that,
Have we talked to Greg?
No, we haven't, that is something we can talk to the attorney on this.
Yeah, and
Because I mean, obviously, we wanna,
I've conveyed the information to him.
Did you?
That's where, I copied you, I think, and that's where, he's come back with, this is the ordinance.
Oh, I
this
got
is-
you.
This
Okay,
is the
what's that?
information.
Yeah.
Other than that, those are, the constraints, I guess, that,
Mhm.
I don't know where the city wants to go from there on how we move forward. And I think Craig, he has an opinion of, what is there and the information that I've provided to him. But other than that, I mean, I guess it could be good, to have that conversation. I would probably say him looking at an outside view,
Yeah.
we would probably say you were gonna need to force them to do something,
Enforce
unfortunately.
ordinances.
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, I've just been appointed to this committee, and, I haven't seen that, and I haven't talked to Greg about that, so.
But
I'm not-
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
talk
nothing's
about it
gonna
some more
happen.
at council.
Yeah, nothing's gonna happen
I mean,
overnight.
But
yeah.
obviously, we wanna work with GSI and Sloan, 'cause they've been here for years, and they're the lifeblood of this town, so we
Yeah.
wanna work with them, but all we can, but we also have to think about, enforcing,
well,
our
I think
ordinances and.
I would like to see them have a little time to get maybe somebody called in, I mean, whatever company they call in, to see what their options are.
And that's a
We can work
recommendation,
with them,
that's
you
a
know.
recommendation that, you know, in itself, that, you know, you guys need to have someone in-house decide what your, you know,
Yeah,
where your
yeah.
plumbing goes,
You know,
you know, what the best solution is, what's tied into where, which they can do, and someone can spend, like I said, hours and hours out there figuring that out. It's just, are we gonna do it? Are we gonna recommend that they need to figure this out? You know, that's kind of the direction we're looking for.
Well, I mean, you guys have been out there, you guys have went through the place with them and discussed this with them, and I think now, at this point, which I do definitely wanna work with both companies. But
Yeah.
I think at this point, they need to call somebody in so that they can go through and find their most economical way to fix this problem. Because while I am willing to work with them, we can't absorb all the cost ourselves as the city.
so where does the, who gives them direction, you know, to, or who gives us direction? Does the attorney, you know, prepare a letter, it says, or do we prepare
Well,
something?
let's hold off on that until after
Yeah.
the council meeting. I
the
mean, I think we'll
board-
talk
the
about
board
it
would
there.
Ultimately, but
Yeah, but
We
the
did-
board can direct the attorney,
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
to say, the
that's
language
fine.
and
I
everything.
just wanna make sure where.
Put some teeth into
Well,
it, yeah,
I would like for them to maybe call somebody, you know,
yeah.
whatever firm they need to call or wanna call, and get their options, and maybe come to us and we can work together with them.
And they may
I know, I
not,
agree with
they
that,
may not
yeah.
even have to call a firm, I mean, they could just, you know, make some decisions themselves,
Right.
Yeah.
but yeah, that needs to be conveyed to them, I guess, so, okay, yeah, we can take it to the council,
Yeah.
I think it sounds fine.
Okay, I guess the committee discussed needing an ordinance for a retention pond. I don't know, I'm not really sure what that's in regard to.
I'm not sure what that is either.
But we did take a look at the retention pond, you know, the original design, we don't need to go into that right now, I don't think. We have been, as I'm probably all aware by now, we have, been awarded the 80/20.
That's right, Congressman Davis officially called me and couldn't find my number, and I wanted to say, well, I know of ways you could easily have found it, but, I did, so we got, $1,935,000 for our water treatment plant. Basically, it's 80%, it's an 80/20 deal, so, I mean, it's
Yeah, so
ready to
we-
go, and,
It's been appropriated, I saw, but there's gonna be more paperwork. I'm
well,
not
no,
sure yet.
you're exactly right.
It's not money handed over in on my hand.
No,
On my hand.
But at
It was a
least
grant.
we have been clear.
Yes, we have been clear for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, yeah.
It was a grant or a loan?
So it's a
That's
grant,
right.
yeah, that was the one we applied for.
We will be, we are on the intended use plan
That's
for,
right.
for a loan for the water, because there is still, we still have to come up with that 20%.
Mhm.
I think the overall cost of the engineer estimates were about 2.4 million, so it'd be about 500,000 that we need for the water plant, maybe a little less.
I will say that those numbers were prepared a little while ago, so, I mean, those are, I don't anticipate those are still gonna be exactly perfect, but the grant was up to $2 million, so, I mean, we applied for the max, and, yeah, really, the way the economy is right now, you know,
Yeah.
it'll be somewhere around that number, though.
And my thought was, you know, we could go and, so we've been dealing with sewer loans recently, and they've been, you know, roughly 45% forgiveness, but on the water side, it's 65% forgiveness, so we gotta keep that in mind.
50%,
I thought it
it's
was
50%,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, we do have the option of applying for a little more money on that loan to, not only pay for the water treatment plant, but we do have some water mains that, you know, they do need repaired. We've had, you know, you've seen this water main over here on Sixth Street, or First Street. We've got quite a few undersized 2-inch water mains that we had originally planned to replace, which we could roll into that loan. I think that was kind of.
Yeah, so so going back like, I mean, a year, 2 years ago, I guess, we had turned in a project plan to do the water plant, water mains, and then additional lead service line replacement. And, you know, you can do a project, you don't have to do them every year, you could spread them out, you know, water plant next year, water mains the following year with the lead service line replacement. And I think that's how, we should move forward. So the water plant, with an EPA loan, you can get 50% up to $400,000. So you can do an $800,000 project or add $800,000 onto your $2 million project, and then get 50% of that, in grant principal forgiveness through the loan, just like we've just done for the sewer project and the previous water. So that's how I would plan to move forward. So we'd have the water treatment plant hopefully we'll be getting permits here in the next maybe 60 days. And then we would advertise, shortly after that, and have it where it's under construction starting, probably late summer, early fall, and be completed, sometime.
Where are we at on the closing, do you know? The reason I say that, we got the money in this fiscal year, the 20,000, but we can roll it over till.
We'll probably have to.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it'll probably have to be rolled into the next budget. I
Next
think that's
budget, okay.
end of April or beginning.
Yeah, it's at the end of April, so next month we'll be talking about budgets.
Yeah, it'll have to be rolled over.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that would be my thoughts. Yeah, we move forward with the water plant in this next upcoming fiscal year. It'll be listed on the intended use plan again, and then the following year, we would work on the water mains. Because we are also gonna have sewer project phase 2, so it's, the city's got a lot going on, I guess.
Another thing I want to bring up is there's a new rule that's been come out for lead service lines. Originally, we had to yearly have a lead service inventory, or a service line inventory of how many services are in town and what the materials are made of. 2 years from now, we're gonna have to have identified every service in town. There used to be a section that says unknown. We have roughly 250 unknown services. Those will no longer be allowed to be marked as unknown. If they're unknown, they're gonna be considered lead services. So the scope of the lead service replacement lines we're gonna be doing is gonna be ramped way up. I think 150 plus is what we're looking at doing next time. But that's something that, we will have to either identify or replace every line in town. We did 60, I think, this last go around. But we've got quite, including unknown and known lead, we've got over 300 services that are gonna need to be replaced. The intention is that there will be lead funding there that's 100% forgiveness. That's what we'd like to do. But it is something that, the EPA is requiring now for us to identify all of those. So, honestly, the best way to identify them is to replace them. La Rochelle project, still on schedule. We should be getting all the materials in next week, and then maybe following, the week after that, they could start digging. And then, the water rate increase, the ordinance for possible water rate increases, something that, compels the board to address it at least every year. I think that needs to be continued on. I don't know if it needs to go to full council and voted on, or if it's been
Yeah, we'll
brought up
have to
again.
do that. So basically the concept of it would be an ordinance stating that we shall review our water rates to make sure that they're consistent with the expenditures of what we're using.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, have a cap on it, or
Okay, yeah.
Didn't we already pass that already?
Sewer.
it'll match the sewer.
Matches, yes.
Oh,
This is for water.
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it's sewer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were forced to do sewer, and we didn't do water because, for one, we weren't sure where the grant, how that was gonna play out. And I'm not saying that I don't know, I still have to look at all the finances for water. I assume everything should play out really well because of the $2 million.
I think it's just a good, outside of,
It
loans
is,
or
yeah.
projects we have, it's a good policy to adopt.
Inflation, everybody knows inflation's like 7 or 8% or even higher than that. And so I like where, 3 or 5% every year because the cost of things, everything goes up, so that way in 20 years when we're looking at doing another big project, then you don't have to do a 30% or 40% rate increase.
Yeah.
And we still are pretty low on the scale as far as water rates. We've got that peach tree we were waiting on. I talked to John Heck. He told me he couldn't get any mature peach trees, but then I talked to that Robert Elo. I think that's his name, Elo.
Yeah, out of Shelbyville.
Jonathan Elo. and he's $178 for, 4 to 6 foot peach tree. He's got 3 different kinds, and he'll mulch it and plant it for that price.
I think we approved it up to 200.
That's
I
not a
think.
bad price.
Yeah.
So it's a good price, so.
So he's gonna, for install and all of it?
It's
Yeah.
a year's warranty, but, it is on the homeowner, it needs to he said something like it needs to, show active care or something. They need to show that they've been watering it and taking care of it, for his 1-year warranty to apply.
Yeah,
So,
for install and everything, that's a good price, cause
yeah.
we had a cherry, and we had to install it ourselves, but it was like $140 just for the tree.
So, I'm gonna just go ahead and tell him
$140.
whenever he gets a chance, I'll hook him up with the homeowner, she can tell him where she wants it, and that'll be pretty much it. I've got some truck maintenance that needs to be done, just regular stuff, oil change. I've got a wiper switch every time I need to shut my wipers off, I have to pull the fuse for it, and that's been ongoing. Finally getting it in. Dave Reed's gonna take a look at it. And then, this last winter pushing snow, my tires are pretty ate up on that truck, the 2016 Ford. You can take a look at it, they're all cracked and wheels were spinning in the snow, so, I talked to Derek about it. He said something about getting quotes for tires. So, I'm gonna have Dave get a quote, and I'll probably call, a couple places around town. I think Dave was the lowest on the last quote as well, but,
I think he was lowest on the police.
Yeah,
car.
police cars,
Yeah.
so,
Copper.
Pumpable, yeah. You're right.
so I think it needs at a minimum 2 tires, like to put 40 tires on it.
Yeah.
I've already getting it in for the oil change, and the switch regardless. The last thing I've got is, I think this has been brought up before, we suspect there's a water main break somewhere. We've had usage fluctuate quite a bit. I've actually been going back and taking a look at our daily usage, through the meters, or the new Badger meters that can reflect that, and then, pulling records of what our, monthly usage or our bi-monthly usage is from our old, meters. I think we're losing quite a bit of money, or quite a bit of water, and we have been for a while. And, the money we make and the money we bill, it's pretty far off. And I think there's a couple spots where I've been pulling manholes on the old sewer system that still have quite a bit of water running through them. The lift station usage, has been up, so we're pumping quite a bit of water to the lagoons that, we shouldn't be pumping. It should be pretty well dried out by now, and it's not. So I'm thinking we've got a few large leaks in town. There's a company in St. Louis, it's called, Matter Leak Detection. We've used them before. It was 2015 the last time we used them, and then 2006 before that. But I do think that we have some pretty serious leaks going on. There was one day last week we billed out about 75,000 gallons and we pumped about 160. So, it's a pretty significant difference.
So you build out how many?
75,000 and we produced 160,000. And we've talked about before how our water loss rate is high. We were somewhere around 40% last year. We want that number to come down as much as possible. It comes in our audit every year. It's every 5 years when we get a water plant inspection. It's mentioned that we need to do everything we can to make up that loss. And I think the best way to do that is leak detection. But now that I think I've got a few things narrowed down, I'd like to get this company in as soon as possible. They said they're busy. They'd like to come in next week. So I'd like for this board to approve it rather than.
Yeah, and that's what I told Jack when he had called me, yesterday about it. I said, I'm fine with it, because every day that we go on, we're losing more water. So I said, as long as the water committee is okay with it, we'll still put, and they give the okay, you can still go ahead and call it, but we'll still put it for a record at the council meeting.
And it's,
So I feel so long as you guys are okay with that, then go ahead.
it's $5,300. I don't think I gave you that price before, and that's for leak detection for the whole town.
What did they do when they were here in 2006 and 2015? Is that what they were here for?
Yes,
And what were their findings at that time?
there were multiple breaks, that were, they spent a couple weeks fixing.
So they fixed them?
No,
No,
the
you
city, they
guys,
just tell you where they're at in the city, but then, so, you know, they come out and they say, all right, you've got these 5 water main breaks in here, we're just, you know, we're gonna start going, whether we need to call in help, it just is what it is, we're gonna start fixing them.
Well, I mean, we obviously have to find it.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, like I said, every day we're losing water here, and
That's a tremendous amount of
Yeah, it
loss.
is.
there, and it could, you know, we have to understand, there could be, you know, there could be unmetered sources, there can be, billing issues, you know, there can be a litany of issues. I think that I would say 90% of it's gonna come through loss through water main breaks, but,
and do you think that because that station is pumping so much water when it should not be pumping water right now?
yeah, not only is our usage high at the water plant, but, at the, I can
At the
physically
discharge.
show you the sewer mains, the old combined sewer mains, you know, you'll go down. I've got it narrowed down to one alley. I know there's a break-in because on North Street, you can pull the manhole and it's completely dry. There's no water running through it. And it's all running back south down to Samuel Street. You pull the manhole on Samuel Street, it's got water flowing through it. Clear, crystal clear water just pouring through it. And there shouldn't be any sanitary connections on there. There's no storm drains on there. It's dry out. So we know that somewhere in this 300 yards or 500 yards, there's a break, but there's nothing wet, nothing surfacing, you just have no idea where to begin. So
It's so crazy.
they basically.
It's hard to wrap your head around when you say like, we're losing water. Where's it going? Is it going back out to the lagoons?
There's field tile everywhere around this town.
Now the old sewer, the water that's going in the old sewer, it is all in.
Thursday,
nothing.
like at 7:30, you have to get 40
And we're
minutes
pumping,
notice.
you know, we're pumping it at the wells, we're treating it at the water plant, we're pumping it at the water plant, we're pumping it at the sewer ponds, I mean, we're spending a lot of money on this, forgotten water. So, I told them I figured this would be the, outcome of this board meeting, so they're penciled in to come in next week. You'll see them, you know, riding around town, they'll have these correlators they've got set up on fire hydrants and water meter pits, and it'll take them at least a couple days, probably 3 days.
So when were you wanna have this service done? You said next week?
Next week, he said Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever, you know, I'll get in there as soon as I possibly can, as we told you.
So you can just approve this under an emergency or something?
Well, that's
Or
kind of,
we
that
don't-
was kind of my line of
Or
thinking.
we just all
Joe
say
had
yes.
asked about a special meeting, I mean, to meet the 48-hour notice, you have to have it at 7:30 on Thursday. I'm okay with the committee approving it.
Now, and this would be, maybe this a little bit higher, but this would be in line with what we would pay for a full crew to come out for like a large water main break or something or a sewer main break that was real deep. You know, we'd call Burdick or Petersburg and say, hey, we've got a broken sewer main, you need to come in here, it'd probably be about $5,000. So this wouldn't be some, out of the ordinary, you know, non-emergency expense. I would absolutely think this would be something that, you know.
I get that, it's just,
$2,000 to get that break fixed back there behind the water plant.
we're
Yeah.
supposed to
That was
approve
like
things
25
before
bucks.
we spend.
Yeah.
We're not spending it technically, but we're authorizing it
Authorize.
without council. I think everybody needs to be here to vote on it.
Then we'll schedule a special meeting Thursday, 7:30.
Don't you think, Larry?
No, really I don't. I mean, I think it's an emergency already. I mean, I can call the other 3 aldermen and get their
Let's do
opinion.
that, yeah.
I can personally call them and just let them know the situation.
Then do that.
I guess I should say 2.
Right,
Yeah, but I'll at least let them know on it.
I'm good with that.
But
I just
I'll do
want
that.
everybody to
No, that's
be on
fine.
the same page. I mean, I'm good with it.
Okay,
I'm
I
sure
will do that.
everybody else
I'm
is.
definitely good with it.
Perfect. I'll call them tonight.
There was something else I kinda wanted to talk about is,
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
we've had some, you know, now that we can pick up people who have, service lines that are leaking on their side of the meter.
Don't do that.
You know, some of them kinda just push it off and push it off and push it off, and I know Tanya is constantly calling people, you've gotta break it 3-4 times. There's one now, it's at the top of the leak list, you know, he's aware of it, he's in no hurry to get it fixed. Water is getting billed, so it's coming back, but is there any point where we want to, you know, limit the amount of leak? Cause it's not technically being lost, it's being billed out, but it is a waste of water.
It is being billed, but then when we do the adjustment for
But
the leak
so that's
adjustment,
the
we're
other
losing
thing
money.
is, how long do we give them, once we notify them of the leak?
Oh,
to-
well, no, in my opinion, no.
You can't do an
We've already
adjustment.
told
If
them.
they know
No.
that there is a leak,
That-
then there is no adjustment.
Yeah,
I think that, and we
I-
probably should adopt some kind of official policy, like,
Mhm.
it must be fixed within 7 days of notification for leak adjustments.
A
to be
past,
applied.
a past
I-
mayor gave them, they had a time frame of when it had to be fixed.
We need to give them time to get it fixed,
Yeah.
but if they have that amount of time, if they have 7 days, and they still have not gotten it fixed,
And it may need to be a little bit longer than that, just, you know, plumbers and
Well,
they're all busy.
yeah.
Let's say no more than 15 days.
Yeah, something like that, I think is a good idea.
Yeah.
well,
When I-
15 days is fine, but if
Mhm.
When I
they,
first contacted him, it was like 12 gallons an hour. It's up to 29 now.
that's ridiculous.
So, and it, like I said,
Well, I'd be
they're
screaming
paying
for
for
it.
it, I mean, it is going.
I don't
to
think,
reflect
he's
the
not
bill.
home during the week either, is he?
No,
Just
but
on
I
the
mean,
weekends? Yeah.
his girlfriend is.
So, and it's, you know, that is the
2,000
isolated
gallons in a month.
situation, but
Tanya, have we done an adjustment on that?
No, not
No.
yet. No.
Yeah, if he's aware, and he's not doing anything, no.
and that's, you know, we
I've
had
called
this,
him 3 times.
we had the same issue with that, house, we just put a new service in over on Kemmerer Street. And I explained the same thing to him, I said, hey, listen, you know, this is something we've been trying to track down for a while, you've known about it for a while, we're not gonna offer you a leak adjustment, and he was, you know, he understood.
But there's a leak, you can do a leak adjustment one time,
Every 5 years.
and this person hasn't had one.
Mm-mm.
So if they ask for one, you would be able to give them one?
No.
Well,
not if they
normally
know
I
that they
would,
have a
but-
leak that long.
Yeah, normally they would, but, you know, basically, you know, they're letting it run because they know that they're not gonna end up having to pay for it.
But
You
I
know,
feel
they'll
like
get
we
it
need to
fixed.
have an ordinance on that. I mean, cause
Yeah.
we've done it in the past.
Yeah, it's just always kind of been a mayor's decide sort of thing. Yeah, we should probably do an ordinance on that. So we have it in writing in case.
Derek, you wanna talk to
Yeah.
Greg about that?
Yes, I sure can.
That'd be like kinda changing the rules as you go.
Yeah.
Well, if you talk to Greg, you tell him to call me, hard to get a hold of.
Seriously? For you?
We're trying to get a legal opinion back from him on sewer phase 2.
Okay, I'll tell him.
So if you wanna nudge him a little bit in the right direction.
The property,
You can always call, I mean, again.
yeah, the Leafland pump station land acquisition stuff, that's what.
Alright, I'll call him tomorrow, cause well, we talked anyway tomorrow about, Roger Butts' place.
Mm,
So that's,
There you go, you got a list of things now.
yeah.
Frank's not available, Nicole's not
Yeah, I usually get one of his assistants.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
That
but
might be, that might be good to get her information then, or his information. Yeah, 'cause I just have Greg's,
yeah.
Nicole's really good.
That's all I've got.
Can I say something real quick? Well, as you well know, Melody has resigned. Gary and I did find a new person to take the spot, and that is Donnie Walden. So I encourage you all to get to know him, talk to him, and ask him any questions. I think that he'll be great. He's not related to anybody in this town. Doesn't even know anybody in this town. I will say how I actually knew him. I knew he lived here, but I didn't know. I thought he still lived in the apartments. But Donnie and I do go back. We actually, in high school, we worked together over in Shelbyville. So I knew he had a great work ethic and everything then. So
were you guys just playing basketball at the park?
Yeah.
Were you guys just playing basketball at the park?
yes.
Yeah, we just walked through.
I thought I saw you.
So I'm excited. So hopefully you guys can meet him and we can get him voted and sworn in April. So
You still out of GSI? Are you?
that's all that I have. Everything else was.
Well, welcome and congratulations.
I talked to 8 people, and they were all no. So,
Well, the 8th was a yes.
yeah, he was. There was one other one that was thinking about it, and I ended up telling them that we got somebody else. So.
Well, I have, I think we've gone over a number of items that, I was already kind of planning to discuss, but I do wanna talk about, so sewer phase one. So we did, you know, kind of have a punch list walkthrough, before the board meeting. You know, it probably took three or so hours. A lot of the items that we talked about were just like seeding and, you know, putting rock down, adjusting some manholes, things like that. About 3 months ago, maybe it's been longer than that, I brought up that there was on Samuel Street, there is a concrete patch that we made. That I know that there's been some contention about how it was put in place and if it's acceptable or not to the city. I want to bring up that you know, I want to get some direction on what the city wants to do for this patch. You know, it's a difference opinion of how the repair was made. I think that it probably should go through a streets meeting because it is a road item. You know, everything else didn't go through a streets meeting, but I'd like to get some direction on what, you know, how to move forward. I don't know when the last streets meeting was, if it already
Yeah, it
happened.
just
Last
happened
week,
last
Tuesday.
week,
Just
yeah.
happened last week. So I guess, you know, my thoughts are, you know, if Petersburg, if we directed Petersburg to make the change that I think the streets department has, you know, kind of proposed, recommended, what we wanted, what they'd like to do or have done, is Petersburg is not going to cover the cost, is going to be, you know, some fee that I don't know of, and so that's really the question is, you know, how that is being taken care of. It really comes down to, you know, there was a discussion with Ron Tapscott from my office out in the field, and then also what was done. You know, I agree with how Ron had repaired it, but I also understand the issue of how it was put back. So I want to make sure you guys are aware. I want to make sure we're not, you know, letting this just go. We need to discuss it and decide you know, what to do from there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what I'm talking about.
Was it the side, along the side of Samuel Street?
Yeah, along Samuel.
By Kimmer Street.
Yeah, by Kimmer Street, kind of at that intersection. You know, how it was put back.